What's going on, everybody? This is Sharron of Raw Select Music. Today I want to talk about this record right here. This is Family Tree by Family Tree featuring Sharron Brown, originally released on Anda Records in 1975. And much like a lot of the records that I talk about on this segment, this is one of those records that I just absolutely love. And it is so obscure that unfortunately not nearly as many people know about it as I think they should. So as part of my public service with this Playing Favorite segment, today I wanted to highlight what I think is one of the greatest funky disco tracks of all time, give you a little bit of background about it, and share some reasons why I think if you've never heard this song before, you should definitely give it a listen. So with that being said, let's talk about this guy. So much like a lot of the records that I talk about on this segment, details on this release are pretty scant. In fact, details of this release are about as rare as an original copy of this record. All I really had to go on was the fact that it was released in 1975 on a very small label called Anda Records, which only had a handful of releases to its name. And in terms of a biography about the group, based on the Discogs webpage, the only listings for any of the personnel in the group were basically an executive producer, an engineer, and Sharron Brown herself. And that is where the trail ends in terms of the story of this record. Except for one thing. Browsing through the Discogs page for this release right here, I found that Sharron Brown herself actually had some choice words for the release of this record, which you can read for yourself right here. So, as it seems in Sharron Brown's own words, Family Tree was another victim of shady business practices that, one, killed off any chance of Sharron Brown holding any musical rights to this song right here, and two, giving this song a chance at achieving any sort of classic status that I really think that this song deserves. Simply put, this song is everything that I look for in a disco track. Super funky drums, an absolutely unstoppable groove, crazy bass lines, these really cool horn lines. Sharron Brown's vocals are so passionate and so heartfelt. Sharron Brown's vocals are the absolute highlight of this song. And then to top it all off, there is this absolutely phenomenal drum break featuring an absolutely in-the-pocket drum solo, as well as these perfectly accompanying hand drums that just fill out the groove and make it absolutely undeniable. Every time that I've played this record out, everyone has always asked me what it is, and ironically enough, when one of my friends played it in a DJ set years and years ago, even while I wasn't intently listening to everything that was being played that night, this record stood out immediately and made me run over and ask the DJ what he was playing. Because as soon as I heard it, I was like, I need to find out what this is. But truth be told, that wasn't actually my first exposure to this record. My first exposure to this record was not from Brain Freeze, but actually from its follow-up product placement, the follow-up DJ mix to Brain Freeze. And in the middle of the DVD, there's a conversation between DJ Shadow, Cut Chemist, and Japanese beatmaker, producer, DJ Kaza? I think it might be Kaza. KZA, talking about records, and DJ Shadow was trying to help the DJ express the kind of records that he was looking for in English, and DJ Shadow finally came to the idea that, oh, you're looking for that bounce stuff, which immediately launched into the break from this record. And immediately upon hearing that drum break, that was like, this is exactly the kind of disco funk that I'm looking for. And luckily, while digging around in a local record store, I managed to score a copy of it about 7 years ago. And then surprisingly, while digging around at that same record store recently, I found a second copy. So I am absolutely delighted to have two copies of this record. But as you may have noticed, it is not an original pressing. In fact, it's a very weird pressing. R&S Records were incorporated. And while looking at it, I got really curious, what's the story behind this series of bootlegs? Because I actually have quite a few records that have this very flat, bland, featureless label. While digging around online, I actually discovered that this R&S company is actually Danny Krivitz's own private press label that he used to press up his own edits for his own DJ use. So I thought that was really cool that there is actually a little bit of history behind that. Danny Krivitz has released a ton of edits under this R&S company, or lots of records that look exactly like this. While I couldn't find out if he had actually pressed this one himself, I do know that Danny Krivitz's name is associated with R&S Records. Now, despite the fact that an original pressing of this record will cost you a pretty penny, thankfully there are tons of reissues for this record, and you can get them in both 7-inch and 12-inch format. But the good news is, like, this 12-inch is very reasonably priced, usually going between $2 to $10, and the reissues themselves, although they've sold out multiple times, from what I can tell, they're readily available on Discogs, and you can pick them up fairly commonly, fairly easily without too much hassle. And I highly recommend that you do, because seriously, I cannot recommend this track enough. I definitely think that more people need to know about this track, and more people need to hear it, despite its tumultuous history, because quite honestly, this might be one of my all-time favorite funk records, and it is definitely a record that I think should be more discussed when we talk about the great music of the disco era. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching. If you've listened to this song before, please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. If you have any recommendations for tracks that are in a similar vein to this, please also let me know about them down in the comments. If you want to hear this song for yourself in full, please head over to my WordPress blog, because that's where I post music links to any of the records that I talk about on this channel. Please also head over to my Mixcloud, where you can check out Raw Select Radio, the audio component of this YouTube channel, as well as be on the lookout for more live streams live from the record room every Sunday at 8 o'clock Japan time. Links to everything, as always, down in the description. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. So until then, peace out!